Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father. It is an honor and privilege to have on the show the guitarist of ZAO, Mr. Scott Mellinger. They formed in Parkersburg, West Virginia in 1983, but now they hail from Greensburg, Pennsylvania. So they have a new album, The Well-Intentioned Virus, which is their 11th full-length album, and it's been 7 years since this band has put something out. So I'm very excited to have him on here. And, man, you guys are a household name around here and to everybody who loves this band. So how's it going, Scott?
Good, man. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So 7 years, man. What's taken so long? I mean, you guys took a hiatus. Was it pretty much, broken up? I mean, let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, actually, no, we definitely didn't break up, but we kind of just did life stuff. Like, so me and my wife had a daughter she's 8. Oh. So it was right around that span of time. And then, Dan was getting married, Jeff got married. All of us were kind of doing the life thing. I think too, like we planned on there being a little more going on after Awake. For whatever reason, things just kind of went completely dead. And I'm not really sure why, but there wasn't any like weirdness in the band. Like all of us still talked. And then some of these songs, I think I've said this before, but like some of the songs on the Well-Intentioned Virus were in their beginning stages right around that, like 3 months after that Awake record came out. So it's very odd. I hate to say like we planned the 7-year thing, but I'm kind of glad it worked out this way because you really get to gestate these songs.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. People taking a break from what you do to recharge kind of kicks your ass back into gear and to producing some awesome shit, man.
I think you're totally right. I really do think, especially like with creative things. So obviously like being in a band it's a 100% honor to do it. Like it's not like you don't get the opportunity given to you. Like we don't take it lightly. I mean, we are totally privileged to be able to be in a band, but it does start to, you might lose maybe your creative juices. Being on the road's kind of tough, so maybe just dumb little infighting that might blow up into something that never needed to get to because you're with somebody for like 3 months at a time. So I've always maintained, and this is kind of what we've done in the band, like we never really formally break up, but we do take breaks. And I think a lot of bands now saying you're broken up you're not going to be broken up forever. Everybody I know that does that eventually come back and do something, be it a reunion, whatever, but you're still going to do it again. Like once this is in you, once this is in your blood, there's no way you're not doing it.
Oh, yeah.
But we take little breaks. We're definitely like, there's not going to be any more breaks though. I don't think. I think we're being creative with how we do the band now. So we don't necessarily get out there and tour, but we're going to play a lot more than we have been, but we're going to keep it to a point where like every show's special because it's not like a big full thing. So
I'll tell you right now, before we get in depth in this interview, last time I was posting, I was listening to ZAO and ZAO actually. I had so many people posted it liking like, hell yeah, fuck yeah.
Nice. It's so crazy. I mean, for being a band as long as we have been, we've always felt like, it's kind of cliche, but like we always have the chip on our shoulder. Like there's a ton of people that don't know who we are still. And we always feel like we can do better. We always feel like the records, once they're done, we're happy with them and proud of them, but we're always looking for that next thing we can do to kind of revitalize us. So we're always looking ahead. We're never looking behind. And it is just fantastic to see the reception of this record and just some new people, young kids like coming on board with it. Yeah. I mean, this style of music lends itself to, I think, that fan base. So, but it's cool. I'm close. I'm 38. So like there's dudes my age that are still pissed off and wanting to listen to some angry music. So.
Yeah, I love it, man. I'm 37. Good. I love it. I think it's, I love my stuff like Metallica, stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, but
me too.
When you can put in your guys' shit and listen to it, it's like, wow, that's more fresh of breath air than what I've heard in the past 5-10 years, honestly. So.
Thanks, man. Yeah. There's something about like the extreme, aggressive shit that really gets your blood moving. I agree.
Does. If you can't get up on this stuff, then just go sit down somewhere.
Yeah, there's no point. Yeah.
So, Scott, what's impressed you the most about making the new album, The Well-Intentioned Virus? What's caught your eye about it, if anything?
Well, I guess, and I don't know if hopefully this kind of is what you mean, but for me, like the thing that catches my eye the most about all the stuff we're doing is, I'm not sure, but we started our own label to release this record, so we didn't work with any labels or any big conglomerates or anything like that for this record. We started our own label. We partnered with our merchandising company called Holy Mountain Printing to help us like store records, ship records, and just some other background stuff that like some of us can't do it on a regular basis. So what's impressed me is just the fact that like we did this all on our own, and the fan reactions solely what kind of made it go, because it's not like you had a big label behind you pushing it to people that might not have known. So this like unbelievable core of fans that we have that went out of their way, ordered the record, it just blows my mind. A band like us in our stature, in our how long we've been a band, that there's still this big amount of people enough that like it can sustain itself and people will find it. It didn't have to be in Best Buys and all that shit. It could just be online in certain little mom and pop stores. We tried to do that too. We did sign a deal with a Revelation distribution, so we could get it in some places, but just the way this is all kind of panned out, I couldn't have thought. I mean, it blew my mind, because I mean, really, when you're a band like us and you're doing stuff on your own, it's kind of a 50-50 shot that it's going to work.
Yeah,
right?
it's kind of a scary deal too, being out there for that long.
Oh, yeah.
That you guys have, and then finally doing that. Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, there's a lot of bands I don't know that wouldn't be willing to maybe just take the chance and say, we're just going to do it. We got to the point where we're like, we've been with a few different labels. Nothing really. I mean, whatever. Everybody has their horror stories of the money that you don't make, but at the same time, like that label's the reason why your band's being noticed. So like it is what it is. I mean, whatever. But we just came to the point now where like, let's try something different, man, because it's it's tough. It's tough to do anything and provide for yourself being a musician anymore with what happens with streaming and everything. So yeah, cool. It worked out.
Now, you said you guys produced this album. Do you guys like this part of it, to do it yourself wise, or what, man?
Yeah, actually, since I joined the band, I've always been kind of a student of just being in a band. Not like even, I've obviously like I love guitar and I want to learn as much as I can about that, but I also love recording. So I love just the whole scope of like engineering records, sounds, how to get sounds, all that stuff I've always been interested in. I've always loved the back business of like doing music and just watching like vinyl get pressed is awesome to me. Like every aspect of the band, every aspect of being in a band is super interesting. And I lucked out because like a lot of the dudes in the band are the same way. Jeff, our drummer, I mean, he works for a different label where he does a lot of back end work, and he took all of that knowledge and he's put like 110% into doing most of the work that has to be done. So it's really neat to have our like group of 5 guys, and all of us kind of have our own thing that we do, but all of us are really interested in all that aspect of everything. So we've studied for like the 20 some odd years we've been doing this stuff.
Any songs off of the Well-Intentioned Virus that stand out more to you than any, if possibly, man?
Wow.
I know it's like saying it's your kids, but I mean,
yeah. I guess. We ended up, when we went in to record the record, we ended up with 19 songs. So
wow.
Some of those kids got pushed to the curb, unfortunately. So we ended up with our 10 favorite songs that went on the record. I think what's cool about them is they all have different aspects that I can relate to or really, really like that breaks them apart for me. But I think for me, Xenophobe was one of those songs that, well, I remember finishing the song and going, this is going to be one of those ones. This is going to be the one off the record that when we play it live, it's going to get a reaction, because like you can just tell the way the song goes. And I think Dan kind of knocked it out of the park lyrically all over this record. That song, especially in the times we're in now, like I think he really nailed it. So that song really stands out to me. And then the song that's right before that in the sequence on the vinyl, and CD, I guess, but the song called Apocalypse really hit home with me, because that song was written like as my dad passed away, which a long time ago. I mean, he passed away 7 years ago. So that song was written around that time. So that song holds some significance to me. So those two are really, I think, maybe the standouts. But like you said, man, I don't know. Like for the first time, I can really say, and I felt like this before, but there's not a. I felt like ZAO has in the past put out records with like maybe dud songs on them. This record, I don't feel like that. I really feel like every song's really damn strong.
My dad has been dead 18 or 19 years coming up this November. So,
yeah, I mean, like everybody tells you, it never gets easier. You just cope.
Yeah,
you just live. You know.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough.
I guess I'm different. I guess that. I mean, you're right. It don't get easier, but it gets just the thought of thinking of them, and plus knowing that they're there with you no matter what you do. I mean, they're always going to be with you. So it does kind of get easy, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the passage of time too, like the sting of that type of thing over years, definitely starts to kind of chill out a little bit. So
yeah, I can agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
What has adding guitarist Russ, and I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right, Cogswell brought back to the band, man?
Well, I think Russ, with this record, he was pretty busy with his career and life and stuff, so he didn't get a lot of chance to really write with us on this one. But there's something, I don't know, it's hard to explain, man. Russ, there's just something about that dude. Like, just knowing that he's back with us, just knowing that he is as excited as he is about the band now. It's infectious. He's like one of those dudes that's like kind of makes you excited just to, even when we go play. I mean, like I'm excited to see him because I don't get to see him. He lives kind of far from us, so
right.
He's on the other side. He's over on the West Coast, and we're over East Coast in Pittsburgh, so it's a little tough. But yeah, I think Russ is going to add like a dimension to it. I do think that as we release more music, because that's definitely, we already have a plan for like something else to come out next year, and then hopefully maybe another full length by 2018 sometime. So he's going to be pretty involved in the writing process for that stuff. And he's also like, we've talked and have him doing some of the video art for the band. Like hopefully we'll have a video that Russ created on his own coming out here pretty soon. So he's been kind of like a big proponent of the visual art of the band. So
here's the $1 million question, man.
Go for it.
I know you've done a lot of guitar solos, riffs, and everything like that, but what helps you keep your mind fresh and open to new stuff like that, Scott? Or can you really do it, man? I know there's a lot of stuff that's out there. And
yeah, I guess for me, it's almost kind of it's a luxury to play metal, because as the older you get and the longer you play it, it becomes less and less the thing you listen to, right? So it's not that I don't like metal. I love it. Like I'll listen to the heaviest, disgusting thing anytime, but I tend to find myself listening more to like softer stuff. So what I'm able to do though is a lot of the softer stuff I listen to still has like a dynamic emotion to it, if that makes any sense. So a band like Sigur Rós, or a band like even Radiohead, they have these weird like peaks and valleys in the dynamics of the song. And I think I look at our songs and the way I write it really like cinematically, sort of. So there's always going to be like some sort of like crescendo. There's always going to be your beginning, your end, but it doesn't have to follow any kind of formula. And I think too, like what keeps it fresh for me is like, I just kind of let it like I don't really listen to much stuff, and then I'll just go and I'll just riff out. Like I'll play a bunch of stuff. Most of it I might not like, but every once in a while you'll come up with that really cool riff that you record it real fast on your phone or whatever. And then I'll go back and see all the ones that I compiled and see if I can work them together with stuff. And so for me, it's just like I try to not listen to as much that we sound like, so I don't necessarily steal anything. But there's a lot of damn good bands out there, man. Like I don't know if you listen to Gojira or not.
Oh,
I really those last couple records. Oh my God, that band rules.
Yep.
I'm a big Mastodon fan.
Yes,
I
sir.
love that last Baroness record's incredible. So I tend to listen to a lot of that kind of stuff. But even those bands, like you can tell, like they have a real diversity in the song. Like there might be some really heavy stuff, but there's a lot of like blues in it. There's a lot of like just kind of prog in it and all this kind of stuff. So I listen to all that crap, and then we just kind of turn it into what we are, I guess. And but I always know in the back of my head, like there needs to be this one riff that everybody wants to beat the shit out of each other to. So I got to make sure I have that. And then we want to have the fast part. So I keep in mind what we're doing, but we really do, man. It's just like art. We just throw things out there, and it's all about the feel more than anything.
Yes, that's exactly right. And a couple other bands out there too. Red Fang, Draft Tongue Orchestra.
Yep.
I mean, that's some crazy good stuff out there.
Dude, have you listened to the new Candiria record?
No, not yet.
Oh, well, we're actually playing with them in February, and I'm like super excited because that new Candiria record's out of control, man. Like, I'm a big Dillinger fan. We've toured with them a couple times.
Yeah.
And I've always looked at Dillinger as like, they've had those jazz interludes that are like just totally thrown in, and it's so sick, and it breaks everything up, and I love it. Candiria is like full on like actual jazz. Like it'll be the heaviest riff ever, and then they break into like legit, like you take that piece to like a jazz player in New York and he's going to be impressed, So that new record's out of control, man. It's so good.
So how much local support do you guys get, like the local scene supporting you guys? Plus, what about radio? Do you guys get a lot of local support on radio stations or anything, if any?
There's a tiny bit. I mean, we're to the point where, like, with how extreme ZAO is, even though, like, there's a lot of bands out there that are 10,000 times heavier than we could ever be, but I do think that our style of music doesn't tend to lend itself too much to radio play, but there's a radio station out of Pittsburgh that anytime we do, like, if we do a show in Pittsburgh, they do play our songs, like, they're late at night, like metal hour and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had that happen. And then also Pittsburgh, there's a band called Code Orange that's out of Pittsburgh now, and they're kind of like revitalizing heavy metal, hardcore, whatever you want to call it. But they've brought a lot of attention to the city again because, I mean, they're killing it. Their records are killer too, but they're getting a lot of press, and they've been playing some huge shows. They were on tour with the Deftones for a little bit. So I think they've kind of renewed a little interest in our area, which is unbelievably helpful to a band like us.
When the fans start to listen to this new album from you guys, what do you hope that they take away from it, Scott?
Man, I hope people kind of see that you can do things you want to do. I hope we can inspire kids or whoever, to trust themselves and do it the way they want to do it. Because there isn't really any plan on doing things. You just kind of have to do them. And I think hopefully what people will do, if they listen to it, obviously I want them to like the songs, but like just to see, like, wow, these guys did, like, they recorded, basically we had Dave Hyde helped us actually produce the record. So, I mean, we did have help, obviously, but, these guys went to a studio, they did what they wanted to do. They put it out on their own label. They started their own label just because they wanted it to come out. It wasn't like we get signed to a label and then you get like a upfront money to like do whatever. Like, no, we were like, this is kind of what our thing, and we don't want anybody telling us how to do our thing. So hopefully people will start to recognize that their ideas, maybe a lot of the labels and people would have shot them down, but like their ideas are totally relevant to what they're doing.
What can fans expect out of a show from the mighty ZAO? Come on, man. I know you're going to kick their ass. What's going on?
Well, they're going to see a tall, lanky black dude killing himself, because that's his forte, man. That Russ is a madman on stage. They can expect that. They can expect 100% honesty. We're going to give you, like, we're not one of those bands that get up there and rev people up or talk that much in the middle of songs. Dan's like we're all kind of funny, just like easygoing guys, but like Dan's lyric content's pretty intense. So like he gets in that he gets into like a thing, his whole ambience on stage, and all of us we just love doing it, man. So that's it, I guess.
Now, we're in the digital era of music and recording albums and things like that. So do you guys like this part of the music era that we're in, or no, not so much?
Well, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think it's awesome to see people have everything at their fingertips. Like I remember when I was into metal, like even back when Metallica just like were still doing like Master of Puppets, you couldn't just easily find that. Like you had to know somebody that knew that stuff. So it wasn't so easy to find that kind of music, but it was kind of special to hunt for it. I remember like when I got into Metallica, and then you like step up to like Sepultura and get a little heavier, and then like from there you go in even more extreme. So I think it's kind of cool for kids today that it's really easy to find music, but that does give the opportunity for a lot of bad stuff to get out there too, just like anything with the internet. Yeah, also with the streaming, I guess it's kind of a bummer because people don't seem to. Well, from what I've heard though, this year was one of the better years for physical album sales. So maybe that trend is going down a little bit, but as far as I'm concerned, if people hear your stuff and they know you're a bit like they like it, and even if they're just streaming it on Spotify or whatever, if they go online and download it for free, if they love it, I would hope that those people would then come to the show and buy a shirt, right?
Oh, so, yeah, definitely.
I don't condemn that kind of stuff. The real point of being a band is having people hear you. So, whatever.
And another thing too, man. Back in the day, it just as well as I do. You had to go to a freaking gas station or grocery store or some bookstore to find like Hit Paraders or Circus magazines, just to find out the new bands that are coming out, and even get it like a name of the band, or either find out what song's coming out. That's where you had to do your research at. Yep. And also too, as you would know, they like Hit Paraders, Metal Maniacs, all those magazines were kind of like the arbiters of new talent. Yep. And if they didn't like your band, like if you weren't good enough for those magazines, like how else are people going to hear of you? But today, none of that matters, because if you can kind of like get your own social media working, you can at least get eyes on it that might not have been there. So it's almost nice to see like there aren't any overlords of music anymore. It's kind of like, hey, everybody has the opportunity to like showcase their stuff, and if you're good, you should hopefully kind of break through some of the bad stuff, and people might take notice of you. And I tell you one thing that broke my heart. I saw this a couple days ago. I don't know how true this is, but I saw that Metal Hammer has now quit producing magazines. That's fucking sad, dude.
We did. See, I thought that could be true. I know, like, we had some contacts with some of the, like, because Metal Hammer, I guess, has a bunch of subdivisions for each, like, country in Europe.
Yeah, Team Rock, I think, is one of them.
Yeah, like, we talked to, like, Metal Hammer Switzerland and Metal Hammer Germany. Like, all of them are kind of separated, but it did seem like it was really tough to get a hold of, like, the main Metal Hammer, like, address, and it would make sense, dude. We actually, one of the highlights of my career, man, we just did an interview with a guy from Fangoria, because I love Fangoria magazines. But even Fangoria, like, they don't do magazines much anymore. It's mainly, like, online. So, yeah, it's sad to see a lot of that really cool print go away.
I'm going to break it to you right now. The guy you did the interview with is my really good friend from Fangoria.
Oh, Jerry?
Yes, Jerry is my brother.
That's so awesome. We were so excited to do that.
Yeah, I help him out. He helps me out. So it's I love metal and horror and stuff, and horror punk and horror stuff. So
we're all the same, man.
That's exactly fucking right. I can't wait for the Friday the 13th game to come out either. So,
Dude, I know the beta's been out. I've seen like a lot of the videos for it. My God, it looks incredible though.
My buddy has been playing it. I work with, and he's like, it's phenomenal. He's like,
yeah, it looks.
He told me, Scott, that when you can play as Jason at some points in it too. And I was like, well, that's awesome. You know, you can't just sit down and say, well, I'm gonna be Jason. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You play Jason at some parts of the game, and I said, well, how's the running part? He's like, well, you teleport.
Wow.
I was like, are you kidding me? He's like, no. He's like, you can teleport behind that person and keep following them like that, and then take them out. And I was like, that's awesome.
Dude, that's amazing. And I did see that you're able to play like different versions of Jason too, right? Like,
yes, you are.
You can be like everyone from the classic. Can you play the mom?
I don't know about that yet.
That would be incredible if they had. What's the hell's the mom's name?
Betty?
Is that it?
No.
Yep. Yeah, that would be incredible if you could do that. But either way, I'm so excited for that game because I had the Mortal Kombat's where you could play as Jason and Leatherface and Freddy.
Oh, that's awesome.
And those are great. But like having like a full-fledged Jason game is so incredible.
I'll tell you something else cool that he told me in it. He's like, when Jason gets like, his energy goes down, he's like, you hear Jason's mom comes on and says, come on, Jason, get up. You can go get him. Get him, Jason. I was like,
well, there it is. She's at least, she's in there then.
Yeah, she is. And you couldn't have it. I mean, I'll say this right now, and people can disagree with me or not. You cannot have a Friday the 13th video game without Jason Voorhees' mom's voice in it at all whatsoever. Cannot.
Because regardless whatever anybody says, she's super important to that whole thing. I mean.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
And that's like, I know people are complaining now because I think they're rebooting Friday the 13th, and I've heard people talking about like maybe the mom would be in it. And I think that's incredible. Like, I would love to see. I mean, I think Jason's too big of a character to not have him in it, but like it'd be cool to at least have her be like the killer for a little bit of the game or something, or the movie. I mean, she's super important to that whole story.
Yep. And I'll say this right now too: the new It that I've been seeing, the guy who plays It is also in the series Gotham, who plays as the Joker, and I cannot think of anybody else that fits that role to play It better than him. The way he looks in those pictures.
Yeah, I'm really hoping people don't give it a pass because of the whole Tim Curry thing. Like, I love Tim Curry's It, but I was talking about it to Jerry about this, but the movie itself's not that good. His performance is great. Everything else kind of sucks. So if you can have a good movie and have, I think the way they have Pennywise look is pretty incredible. It's super, super creepy. I'm all for it, man. That, and then like I'm a huge Alien fan, so I don't know if you saw the Covenant trailer, but dude, that's going to be horror again. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm kind of there's some new horror that's coming out next year. I'm kind of so about because I'm a true old school 80 horror fan. I don't want to mess with it, leave it be. But now they're rebooting the Friday the 13th, like you said. They're coming out with a new Halloween as well. And
Carpenter's involved, though.
Yes.
John Carpenter is involved, so that'll be at least that will ease me a little bit because I thought the last two Rob Zombie ones were bullshit. I was so pissed off at those movies, but whatever.
The first one I thought was kind of okay. I can sit and tolerate it and watch it, but the second one I was like, really, dude? Man, you're so far out.
I don't know why they do this. It drives me crazy. When I was like you. So, like, original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes.
Original, Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one. Those original Friday the 13th. There was no answer to why these guys were killers. They were just killers. Yeah. Now you have to feel sorry for them. Like, I don't give a shit. I don't want to feel bad for Michael Myers. I want him to just be scary and kill people. I don't want to feel bad for Leatherface because his nose is cut off. I want him to just freaking chainsaw people. Like, I don't want to have these, like, sympathetic anti-heroes. And I don't know why they've turned all these horror movies into that. Like, the Halloween movie. Michael Myers is taunted by this crappy stepdad, his mom's a slut, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, you kind of like, okay, I would probably do the same thing, man. I'd go crazy. I want to be like, Michael Myers is just going to kill everybody and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. And I got to the point where I got tired of watching them. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my porn. Everybody does. Don't get me wrong. But it seemed like every new one that they came out with and remade, half of the movie was of that stuff. And I'm like, no, no. Don't get me wrong. I love it. Trust me. I love it. But
I know.
That's not. No. Just go back to the old horror stuff. Get the murdering in there. Let him do his thing. And then go on.
There it is. That's it.
I don't even think they could make a new serial killer horror movie, dude, to be honest with you. I mean, who else?
Well,
in my opinion.
I think you're right. I think we, in our culture now, I don't know, like a lot of the movies that like affected me or like disturbed me, I don't even know if you'd get away with them anymore.
You can't.
So, no. And I mean, I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess there's been a few that have come out in the last like 5 to 10 years that are pretty insane with what they've done. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you can come up with like an iconic like movie like that anymore.
So, folks, Scott and myself, we know our horror stuff, so don't even act like you know more than we do, folks.
Okay, yes. I've been a fan since I was probably 8, so it's been a long life of awesome horror movies.
And you're right. I just don't think they can come out with another serial killer. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. First time I saw that, I pissed myself.
Oh, so dude, I remember. I love it too because I've watched people starting to make a note of this kind of thing. But like they would put, what are the scariest movies or whatever. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre is always thought of as this like super gory movie, and there's like no gore in that movie.
No, there's not.
Psychologically scary. It's just it feels so authentic, and it looks like it's happening to people. So.
And it's like you said, you didn't have to have a reason.
Nope.
To have he just killed. That's it. I mean, they kidnapped you, took him to the place. That's it. You're done. No reason.
Yeah. I think, and there was always like a hint. Like, so the backstory was the family like sold, like hamburgers and stuff, and it was like human meat.
Yeah.
But it like wasn't like a focal point until like the second Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like you just watch that movie and like these kids go down the wrong road, man. Now guess what? Too bad. nobody's helping you now. I
tell you what, though, the people that's played in that movie are so super sweet and nice, man. Gunnar Hansen, I got to meet him at Scarefest. So humble of a guy.
So sad that he passed away. I never got to meet him.
Yeah, me and him sat down and had a long conversation about, the remakes ruining classic horror stuff. And he said the same thing we did. Stop it. Don't do it.
Yep. I totally agree, man.
So,
yeah, that's awesome.
In your own opinion, Scott, what does ZAO bring to the table for music that's not out there, man?
Ooh.
Good one. Good one.
That's a good question. I almost feel like a prick to answer it because it's like I think I'm cool.
30 seconds on the clock. 30 seconds on the clock.
Yeah. What is it? Honestly, I guess I'm gonna have to come back to this. I just think we're like authentic people. I think we're honest dudes. Like Dan isn't writing about anything that he hasn't actually had happen to him. Yeah. So it's everything you get from Dan lyrically and through the band is like his experiences, what he's done, how he's dealt with those experiences. I really just feel like we're honest dudes, and we are. I guess that would be it. I mean, we aren't any. It's too like I said before, like just the privilege of being able to play music in front of people. Like we're the fans. Like we got lucky enough that like there's enough people that give a shit, so we get to play. But it's like we're just the same dudes. Like I work a normal job, and like I buy a bunch of records. I love it all. Like I have my bands that I freak out and geek on. Like I love all that stuff. I just think it's like we're just dudes, man. And I think hopefully people see that we can do it a little bit. So if you want to try, go for it, because it does.
Yeah.
If we got the chance to do it, like anybody can do it if you put your mind to it.
That's exactly right. And I want people to understand that this is hard work. It is right. I mean, you are right. I mean, go for it. Don't let nobody stop you. But we're into the day of times to where you can't go to these CBGBs or Rainbow Clubs and get discovered by some guy just coming in from a record company and wanting to have a beer or talk to his buddy and go, wow, who's this band? That don't exist no more. So
nope. No, you gotta be on your game.
Yep.
Because there's 100 other dudes out there better. So you gotta be on your game. You gotta present yourself in the best way you can, and you got to care. You got to care about what you're doing.
What made you want to become a musician? What was that spark for you, Scott, that said, man, I want to do that?
Well, when I was really young, my grandfather played guitar, so I'd watch him, and I just fell in love with the guitar itself. So that was like my first love, is just the actual guitar, like looking at them, and not even to be able to play them, just I love the way they look. And then I remember when I got into metal, and I saw the Cliff 'Em All DVD, well, the VHS tape actually.
Yeah.
So like watching these like scumball dudes be on stage and like put out their record and Cliff 'em, like, kill 'em all, whatever. He had the vinyl in his hands and stuff. Just watching that and seeing like that little club that they were playing at with like maybe 100, 200 people or whatever, I just felt like I had to try that somehow. And so I was just a big fan of Metallica, Pantera, all those like first like wave of like speed and thrash bands. And I guess that kind of gave me the itch, like watching Metallica's early shows and then just seeing them go from that to like Ozzy, playing with Ozzy for Master of Puppets, and then like I bought a year and a half in a Life of Metallica, all that stuff. Like I just soaked all that in, and it just made me want to do it so bad. And really what it still boiled down to like weird stuff about it. Like, yeah, playing in front of people is crazy, but like I just loved that these dudes had like ESP guitars. I had never thought in a million years I'd ever own an ESP, and now I'm endorsed by them, so it's crazy. But so like seeing ESP guitars on stage and hearing the way how they got their guitars to sound, and like looking at all the amps that they have backstage, and I always loved all that backstage stuff, like the hangout with like other bands, seeing that stuff and seeing like the production, and like still to this day, like one of my favorite things to do is sound checks, because it's like you get to like be with all your gear, and so like I just fell in love with every aspect of what that was. So
see, that's what it is for me by doing the show. People ask me, do you get paid? Well, yeah, the way I get paid is when I get to meet you guys, shake your hand and tell you, hey, you made a huge influence on my life growing up, or either this album did this for me or whatever. That's my payment right there.
Yeah, and you can't, if you get into this kind of stuff because you want to get actual financially set, you're a dumbass.
Yep.
Because it's not going to happen. I mean, we've been a band for 20 some years, and we used to tour 7 to 8 months out of the year, and I mean, if I was lucky, I would make minimum wage for the year.
Jeez.
And that's fine, man. That's what the price you pay to do what you want to do. But like, ZAO's never been a type of band that like I ever like was able to just live on and do stuff with. But that was never the intention. Like even when we first started, like our version of metal hardcore music, like nobody cared. Like you'd play in front of a couple hundred kids, and honestly, it would be the best feeling in the world. Or like you'd get signed to a label, and then the label would never pay you anything because they already spent all your money on other dumb stuff that you didn't even know about. And then all of a sudden, this style of music sort of like kind of took off a little bit and gained a little more mass appeal. But you know, we kind of fell out of it when all that was really blowing up, so we didn't have a chance to hit that kind of thing. But like, no, I don't care. Like I didn't do it for that.
I know you guys get this a lot probably, but what's it mean to you, man, when you guys receive an email from a fan, or prior to your shows or after your shows, they'll come to you and say, hey, look, Scott, your guys' music has pulled me through a bad experience, or it's gave me inspiration to overcome obstacles, or it's just made me relax to the everyday bullcrap that we go through to escape it. What's that mean to you guys?
Oh, it's huge, because it's honestly like when we go on stage and we get that little 45 minutes, half hour, whatever it is, to just unload all of our frustrations from whatever time period we held it all in. I mean, it's like the exact thing for us. So when anybody would come up to me and tell me about how, like, you know, this song meant whatever, or any of that kind of, and that's another thing too, like our band, like we're not those people that you can't hang out with. Like I don't go, we're always out in the crowds and stuff. I've always made that a point to like hang out with people, because I'm just them. You know, like we're them. So I want to be out there and hanging out with people and talking to people. But yeah, like it's very humbling, but just as much as it helped you, like writing that song helped me, or just as much as that, like it being on stage helped me get through whatever. So it's kind of like a give and take thing for us, you know.
I just like to say, as a fan of your guys' music for a little bit here, thank you so much for what you guys do. I really appreciate it as a fan, first and foremost.
Well, dude, that's huge. It means a lot, man.
Folks, the Well-Intentioned Virus is out now. I suggest if you've not heard of ZAO, please give this band a chance. Listen to them. You might find out you may like another new band, folks. And trust me, they're well worth your time. Scott, how can folks stay in touch with you? You find out tour dates, merchandise. How can they do this, my man?
Actually, everything we personally handle all of our social media. So if you go on our Facebook page, if you go on ZAO's Instagram, ZAO's Twitter, all that stuff, it's all us doing all of it. So that's probably the best way. We do have right now, like most of our like T-shirts and records and all that stuff, you can get through either our Bandcamp or you can go through holymountainprinting.com. And then we do have our own, I think it's zaoonline.net. That would be our website. But all the social media, we're always on there. So literally, if you message us, man, we message back in like a minute. So
before I let you go, good sir, will you care to do a promo for my show?
Oh, sure, man. This is Scott Mellinger from the band ZAO, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and Uber City Radio. Thanks, Scott.
Oh, dude, thank you.